how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine. So, this is Sinead's Bespoke Boutique. I hope I pronounced well.
You did. You pronounced it perfectly.
So, how are you today?
I'm doing good today. Can't complain.
So, what is Sinead is? How do you look like? How you will describe yourself?
Like myself or my bit, like me as a person?
Yeah.
Um, wow, okay. Like I'm obviously Irish from Ireland. A mom. I have two kids, a wife, a hairstylist. Um, I mean, I work out a lot. I like to run. I like fashion and I like to do hair.
That's great. That sounds like
Let's see.
someone who is into this industry, right?
Yes.
So, how did you come up with this name of your parlor, like Sinead's Bespoke Boutique? What's the story about it? I really hope there must be some story. It's so much tongue twisting,
I
I
know.
would say. So there must be something in your mind behind this name,
You know
right?
what? I wanted to have something like bespoke means like customized, it's like personal touch. So I wanted to have in the word like something that meant like it's a personal touch from me. It's not just a generic salon. And that's what bespoke means. And then I also wanted to have like a word that describes like a small space, like a small studio. And boutique is means like small. It means like a small shop or a small studio. So it's and I also wanted to have my name because it's my name and I like my name. So I was like, okay, it works. It's a little bit of a tongue twister, but I like it. It describes everything what I wanted to describe in all in the name.
I like pronouncing your name. Sinead.
Yeah,
Sinead.
I get a lot of mispronunciations.
So is it fine, Sinead? Or
Sinead. Yeah.
Sinead?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. So what you hear like in Canada?
So, obviously, as I said, I'm originally from Ireland. I grew up there, and then I guess I always felt like I didn't want to stay there forever. I wanted to like move somewhere else just because it's such a small place. It's an island. Like, I have great friends and family there, but not a lot happens there outside of there. So I always wanted to move away somewhere where it was warmer and I could go to a beach in the summer and lie on the beach and get a tan, and it doesn't get that sunny there. So I originally thought about maybe going to California, but I couldn't get a visa because it's really hard to get a visa for America. So I was like, okay, Canada's close by. Maybe I'll go there. And I just picked, I didn't do that much research. I just picked Toronto because it was the biggest city. And then that's how I came here.
So you got the PR, you applied for PR here?
So no, so originally I applied for there's like a work and holiday visa you can get if you're from our like a few countries have this deal, and it's like a 2 year visa where you can come, you can work, you can vacation, you can travel, and you can work anywhere. So I originally came on that. I was here for a year, and after a year I was like, I really, really like it here. I want to stay here. So after a year I applied for residency.
You mean you came on work visa?
A
Or is it
working
or is
it's
it
a
something?
working holiday visa.
Oh, so that is
It's
something
like
different?
it's a 2 year visa that's like they have a deal with certain countries. I think you can get it if you're from Ireland or England or maybe Australia. So
Okay.
you don't have to have a job here. You don't have to have sponsorship.
Okay.
You
Okay.
just come and you work. A lot of people just come for a year.
Oh,
Yeah, and then they go back.
this is
Yeah,
quite new for me. I
yeah,
haven't
it's
heard
called a
this.
working holiday visa. You're not actually allowed to have a job here before you come here if you're going to use it. You have to
Okay.
have no job. You come here and you work. They really want people to work as like servers and bartenders
Oh,
and
so this is some new concept which I'm hearing for the first
yeah.
time. I always heard of work visa and
It's another visa. It's
yeah,
like a
it's more fun. Like
yeah,
you come here, try if you're
yeah,
liking it,
exactly,
all good. If not, go back.
exactly,
Right.
exactly.
So you love the
I
place.
loved it. I loved it as soon as I came here. I like the winter. I love the snow. I started snowboarding. I ski. I ice skate. And I love the summer. It's so hot. I like go to the beach or the pool. I love it here. So after a year, I was like, I definitely want to stay. I'm not going home.
So you love the weather.
I do like the weather because it rains a lot in Ireland, like all the time. I hate rain. I
Oh.
hate and it's windy. There's no wind here.
So you're main motivation for coming to Canada is to have a weather where you can enjoy, right?
Yeah,
You don't
where I
feel
can be
very.
outside almost all year round.
So what about winters here? So how
You can
you
go
deal with
outside
it?
in the winter. I snowboard. I
Oh.
snowboard. You can ski. I
Mm-hmm.
started skiing. It's harder, but I started it. And or ice skating, or you can even like toboggan. So fun to go tobogganing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, I like that
yeah.
as well. So, like in comparison to your home country, Ireland, right? So, how you find Canada different?
So
Not in just in
yeah,
terms of weather.
yeah. Canada and Ireland aren't actually that different. Like definitely Canada is like a lot more people, a lot more cars, a lot more bigger buildings. It's a newer country, so it like looks different because there's like a lot more high rises here. But like the kind of lifestyle here, the way people live here and the way people live in Ireland, it's not that different. They still celebrate the same kind of holidays. It's still a kind of a Catholic country because all the, holidays are Christmas and Easter and things like that, which is very similar from home. So like yeah, a lot of the things are the same. You just don't have the history, like the beautiful landscapes here. It's
Mm-hmm.
very so new.
Mm-hmm.
And here, obviously, here in Canada, everyone is from somewhere else. In Ireland, where I grew up, most people are Irish. So everyone's Irish, everyone's white, everyone's Catholic, everyone's the same. So like probably the biggest difference is here is very, very multicultural.
Okay. So, so what's one thing which you would like to say? It's the best in Canada, like, or you'll say this is the worst thing in Canada.
Okay, let me see. The best thing in Canada is I know like I already said the weather thing, but like it still is like one of the biggest things that I like about here is the weather. And I do like how multicultural it is because it's so interesting to meet people who are like different from like totally different places and have all these like different cultures and different foods. And like I do like that's really one of the really good things about here. The worst thing about Canada is the food here is like really bad. I think everything is processed here. I don't really like to cook, so it's the food is oof. Yeah, and it's far away from home. Like that's probably like another thing. It's far from my family.
So coming to your, the profession, like you have opened a boutique. So what exactly, your education was? Did you done some kind of degree or course over here in Canada, or you were already there having
Okay.
that, kind of.
So the way it works in Ireland, if you want to be like a qualified hairdresser, you either do like a 4 year apprenticeship or you do like school for like a year and a half or like almost 2 years. So I went to hair school. So that was, oh my God, like 15 years ago, longer. I went to hair school. I was there for like 2 years or like a year and a half. Then they hired me to work there. So I worked at their salon. Then that salon closed down during the recession. And then I went to the school and I taught at the school. And then I moved here and I worked at a salon here. When I came here, I had to do, it was called the hairdressing esthetician exam. So I had to do an exam. I did an exam there at the end of my school there, and I got a World Federation hairdressing certificate. And then when I came here, I had to like resit an exam. It wasn't a practical exam; it was like a written exam, which to be like in the trades, like the trades of Ontario. So I have to be a member of the trades of Ontario, which means you have to pass the exam and have a certain amount of hours, and then you get your membership card as a hairstylist. So
So
that's what
is
I
it
did when I came here.
so is it something like a license
Yeah, it's like a
card?
license. Yeah, like your
Okay.
hairdressing license. Yeah.
So is it like some course material is there for that particular license to go through? Means how you pass that license?
So here, I don't know. So here you have to, it's like similar. You have to do a certain amount of hours. It's like
How
1,500
many
hours,
courses means you have to
like
work
work certain amount of hours as a hairstylist.
over here in Canada?
Yeah, here.
Okay.
Did I have to do it here?
So do
No, I think I could have included the time I worked at home. I'm trying to remember. It was a long time
because
ago.
if the license is required to work here, right? So how you would showcase your hours of work?
Yeah, that's true. Maybe I could use the work from home as my hours. No, so you have to do an apprenticeship. As an apprentice, you
Okay.
build up hours.
Okay.
As an apprentice, you don't need a license. You're an apprenticeship.
Oh,
Apprentice, like a trainee.
okay.
And
Yeah,
then
I got
once you're
it.
fully qualified, you want to get your full qualification, then you do the exam, but you have all the hours from your apprenticeship. Because I worked in Ireland, I actually did, yeah, like now that I think about it, I had to get them to write a letter to say that I had done this amount of hours
Mm-hmm.
in these 10 different categories, and
Mm-hmm.
then I could sit my exam.
So, how many minimum hours are
I
required?
think it was like 1,500 hours.
Fifteen hundred
I think
hours.
something like that. I don't know. I'm not like exact.
Okay.
It was a long time ago. I know I look so young, but it was a long time
Yeah,
ago.
I know. It's a good age. So, how did you get this idea of, starting your own salon? Like you have been working, right?
Yeah. So I worked in the same neighborhood in Toronto so I lived here for almost 13 years. 13? Yeah, 12, almost 12 years. So for the first 11 years I lived in Toronto, I worked in Toronto in the same neighborhood, and it was great. I worked in this two salons like in the same neighborhood, had a big clientele there, but I moved to Aurora, which is I guess 45 kilometers from Toronto. It's about an hour to an hour and a half drive, depending on traffic. So when I moved here, after a few years and I have my two kids, it's too much for me to drive there and come back here every day. It's just too much. So that's why I decided to open this place here because it's closer to my home. So that's what ended up me working here. I didn't want to work for someone else anymore. I got to the point in my life where I don't want to be told what to do or have to work a particular hours to suit them. I want to open my own space. I can work my own hours and do my own thing, and it's all me.
So, coming back to the previous question, you gave a license test, right, to
Yeah,
start
yeah, yeah.
working over here. So, how difficult was it?
The
Means,
test?
not the test, like someone have already completed his education and his working hours in back home, right?
Yeah.
Now coming over here in a new country and starting over, like you have to give the license test for sure
Yeah.
before you start working over here.
So you can work here. So you can work before you do the test. I don't know what the actual rules are, but I definitely started work before I did the test. I didn't even know about the test until I started work because I didn't think like a lot of countries you don't have to have a license to be a hairdresser. I never
So
like heard
we
of
talked
that.
a lot about your professional life. So what about your struggles in your personal life? Though I know you said that there were no much difference between the two countries, but still, whenever you get uprooted from your own country, there must be some struggles involved in your personal life.
Oh, you mean from like the difference of when I moved from there to here? Like, yeah, I guess. Like, I feel like probably the only struggle I really had was, I mean, I definitely had to find somewhere to live. And I lived in a hostel for a while, and then I lived with other people for a while. I guess that could be a struggle. I didn't really see it as a struggle, but probably the most I struggle with is like I have really, really close friends at home, like really close girlfriends. And I feel like that's probably my biggest struggle here. I find it's hard to make really, really close friends. I have a lot of friends, but like my friends at home are almost like an extension of my family. Like they're like my family. And I guess it's because I lived there so long and we grew up together. But that's probably not having like my family and close friends here. So that is probably the biggest struggle.
So coming back to the original question, I forgot. So you got married over here. You came alone.
I came alone.
Oh,
Yes. Yes. I moved here when I was 25 and I just booked a flight and I had never been here before and I did never knew anything about the city and I just booked a flight and I booked a week at a hostel and like said I'll just find somewhere to live
seriously? This
in a
is
week. But I didn't realize when I moved here that the rent starts on the first of the month, and I moved here on the 10th of October. And so I only stayed in my hostel for a week, and I thought I'd have somewhere rented in a week because in Ireland you can rent within a week, it's not a problem. I mean, I don't know about now, but then you could. So I couldn't find anywhere. So I tried to stay in the hostel. I was in the one room in the hostel. And then I had to like stay another week, but they didn't have one room available for a week. So and by that time I had a job, like 2 weeks in, I had a job. So I'd have to wake up in the morning, get out of my hostel room, put my suitcase downstairs in the room, go to work, come back, get my suitcase, check into a different room in the hostel, then and then repeat it. And some of the rooms were shared with people, women and men. It's not the best place to stay. And then I met a group of people, and then I stayed with them um, for a few days. And then at the last minute, I got a room in an apartment like the day before, like on the 31st of October. Oh, yeah. So I found an apartment, a room in an apartment downtown, like right in the last minute because someone had said they were going to take it and then they didn't take it. And obviously, the rooms here come unfurnished and I didn't have any furniture. But luckily for me, the woman that left was going back to like her home country. So she wanted to sell all of her furniture. So it was already set up as a room. So I just bought all her furniture off her. And then I already had my room set up. So,
So for being single, moving here, nobody you know, so that was a big step, right? Just like you were not liking rains. I understand that completely, but
you're like,
still,
wow, you really don't like a rain.
I understand that completely. But to move to a country where you don't know anyone, you don't have any pre-links, like no relatives or no friends, and moving on your own, how did your parents allow it? Me.
Uh, I've always been like really independent. So I don't think my parents, like, my sister, she's a year older than me. When, like, a few years before, she had done like a whole backpacking trip around the world. Like, when you're in Europe, like, I feel like it's not unusual to travel a lot when you're young because everywhere is so close and so accessible, and safe. So I don't know, like, my parents were happy for me and I called them all the time, so it was fine. Like, we had internet then too. So um I mean, in hindsight, it seems like a crazy thing to do. I don't know how I feel if it was my daughter, but yeah, I was definitely, I was already not living with my parents. I was living by myself. I was pretty independent. It didn't seem like a huge leap to me. It seemed like so exciting. Go somewhere
So,
new.
how much years I would say like that took to you to say that okay, now I am comfortable, I am settled in
Huh.
Canada. Like,
I would say to feel settled. No, I feel pretty settled as soon as I found my apartment. I don't think I ever felt like unsettled. And I met a group of people and they knew people and everyone was an expat or like here on a working holiday visa. So I met a lot of people in a similar position right from the get go. So they didn't have family here. I didn't have family here. So like even my first Christmas here, like I spent it with a group of people who also were here on the same thing. So I was pretty settled pretty early on.
oh,
Yeah. Once
yeah.
I have my space, like my room and all my stuff in it, I feel like I'm settled. I could settle anywhere once I'm like have a space. That's mine.
So, what are your plans now onwards? Like now you are settled, you have two beautiful, lovely kids, and a loving husband, of course. So, and you now you have your own salon, which you dreamt of. So what next?
Oh, what next? Okay, well, my salon's only 1 month old. So next is to try and get busier because I'm not as busy yet because it's new and it's far away from where I used to work. So my next step is to try and get this place busy, see how busy I can get it, see if I want to grow it, if I want to keep it small, if I want to take on staff and move to a bigger space. That's pretty much my next step. Like, and spend more time with my family. Like, my kids are young, they're only going to be young for so long. So I want to be around them as much as I can when I can.
Which I have observed, like when you were serving your customers. So I think you go for the head wash. I know this is some abrupt question in between, but this is what I have seen in Canada salons. I just want to see that how you deal with it and how other salons. So is it like when you go for head wash, is it like because you are not feeling that the hair is in correct condition to go for a haircut?
Oh, you mean like why do you wash it first?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So the reason that I wash the hair first is not because you can't cut it dry. It's because when the hair is wet, you can tension it so you can pull it straight. So when you're cutting the hair, you can do a perfect haircut because you can all pull it all to the same straight like tension length as you cut it. When it's dry, you could have like one side could be kind of straighter than the other, one side could be wavy, and you could cut it perfect dry. Then they wash it again, the straight side ends up wavy that day. So it's in my opinion, and the way I was trained was to cut it wet so everything can be pulled to the same tension, and then let it. And as it dries, you can see how it dries, and then you sort of work with that. Because my hair cutting technique is like to work with the natural texture. So you have to start wet to see how it naturally dries. And then you can blow dry whatever way you want, but like you want to see how it falls naturally. Because most people like they've blow dried one side or they curled one side, or it's never like its natural self until it's gone from wet to dry.
Okay. So coming to the tips, like if some newcomer is coming over to Canada, so what tips you would like to give them for job search?
For a job search, okay, for new people, it like again, it depends on the job. The best thing to do is get yourself a good resume, make sure it's written really well, because people do, like, if you miss say something or it's not written right, it's disregarded straight away. Make sure if you're going to email someone that you write a cover letter that's actually specific to that business. Don't just write a generic cover letter and then send it to 10 different companies. Like, name the company name in your cover letter. I saw your company. I see that you do this, that, the other. This is why I would be a good fit for your company. Like, try and aim for like that specific company so you don't just look like everyone else. It's also, as I said before, it's also good to network, get to know people in the industry, even if you just get to know them and talk to them. I guess like depending on the job, like in my job, like a hairdressing and trades, you do have to talk to people. You have to have an Instagram, you have to have a lookbook, you have to like have the word like something to show like all your work, whether it's Instagram or a book or your phone with all your pictures. If it's I feel like if it's another kind of career, like you're looking at LinkedIn, you got to connect with people on LinkedIn, you got to talk to people, you got to there's a lot of, as well, people don't know this, but there's also a lot of, if you look at your town, they usually have support for newcomers, new people. If you need help with the language, if you want to learn French, you got to look to your locality and see what they also offer, because even if you don't want to learn so much, you meet other people when you're there. It's all about meeting people. Again, everything here is meeting people, networking.
So, what about tips for someone who is really looking forward to open a salon for themselves? So you have already done this, so you might
Yeah.
have faced some challenges.
Yeah. So for me, probably the biggest challenge when you open up your own place. So first of all, you have to pick what vibe you want it to give. What kind of salon is it going to be? What do you want it to look like? What do you want people to feel when they look at it? What kind of clientele do you want to attract? So first of all, you got to think about that. You got to think about what look it wants to be. Do you want it to feel like fun? Do you want it to feel relaxing? Do you want it to feel high end? Do you want it to feel whatever? That's the first thing you have to think about. That's the decor. That's the look you're going to go for. Second of all, now you have to think about, how are you going to advertise? How are you going to find clients? How are you going to get your word out there? That's probably the hardest thing. So you have to go online. You have to you have to have Instagram. You have to go on Google. You have to have your ads. You have to have everything. You got to post regularly. So like, it's definitely a lot of work. You have to know what you have. You have to know how to work like a small business, how to prepare for short quiet times, what to do when it's busy, how to set up an appointment book. There's a lot of things to do, but I will say, like, nowadays with AI, with online booking, with a lot of online stuff, it's like a little bit easier than I thought it was going to be. But I probably the biggest difficulty I face is the advertising, trying to like get the word out there, trying to reach the people.
So, any last note you would like to conclude on? Anything which you would like to say?
I'd like to say that I really like living in Canada. It's a great experience to live here. I've met so many great people here, including you. I think it's a great place for like to raise my kids. I'm very lucky in the neighborhood that I live in that it's very close knit and everyone's very friendly and there's a lot of kids and my kids have a lot of friends there and it seems like and this is another good thing about Canada because everyone, well, not everyone, there's a lot of like expats, immigrants here. Everyone that is like that is more open to get to know other people. So they're more inviting, more happy to talk, more happy to spend time together. And that's like, that's great. I love that. And that's probably my take home about Canada. It's like, it's great for families.
So I would really wish all the best for your Sinead's Bespoke Boutique.
You got it.
And I really wish that it gets so much busy that I don't get an appointment for. So
Me too. I always fit you in.
So I really wish that, and I really want to give a compliment on top of it that fortunately I've got a chance to get my kid's haircut over here, and it was really, really lovely to see you doing the work. It was so perfect, and it was like, I know that in Canada, service industry is being looked bit down
Yeah.
upon. It's not that satisfactory, I would say. But your services really were satisfactory, more than satisfactory, I would say, and lovely. And what kind of attention you have provided to the details, I must say, that is commendable. So I really wish good luck to you.
Thank you.
And see you around.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for taking out time for us.
You're welcome.